audience questions. For this reason, it's important for candidates to limit their answers to the designated time. If you, the audience, have a question, fill out one of the audience question cards on your table. Hold it up and one of our chamber staff members will collect it from you. One side of the card is for a question that you would like to ask of all the candidates here today. All the questions submitted from the audience will be reviewed and we will select a few to be asked. The other side of the card is for a specific candidate. Write the names of the candidate and the question you wish to ask. Please write your personal contact information on the card. If your question does not get asked, we'll give the card to the specific candidate so that they may follow up with you directly. Before I turn my attention to the candidates, I ask the audience to please respect our candidates and the Chamber of Commerce by refraining from any responses throughout the forum, other than your applause at the conclusion. This allows us the maximum time possible to hear from the candidates on the important issues facing our community and state. Now to the candidates, I'd like to give you just a few last-minute instructions before we begin our opening statement. First, I'd like to remind you that our President and CEO, Marissa Scher, is seated at the table directly facing him. She is our official timekeeper, and she will indicate how much time you have remaining and when your time has expired. The questions wheel will be on the large screen to your right for you to reference. Please stop talking when your time is up. As I ask each of you a question, I will indicate which of you will answer first. I will also tell you how long you have to provide your answer. We will rotate who answers the questions first so that everyone has an opportunity to answer each question. With that, let's get started. Are the candidates ready? Each candidate will now be able to give a 1-minute introduction, starting with Mr. Dunleavy.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for taking some time off from your busy day to be here at the Chamber event. I want to thank the other candidates for being here as well. Just very briefly, my name is Mike Dunleavy, running for governor. Well, I was a senator for 5 years. And before I go any further, I attended the University of Alaska Fairbanks in the 80s and 90s and actually got my master's in education from Fairbanks. I was an educator out in western Alaska, rural Alaska, for almost 20 years. Then moved to the Mat-Su, and it's not lost on me that before there was an Anchorage, there was a Fairbanks. Before there was a Mat-Su, there was a Fairbanks. So truly this is the hub for the interior of Alaska, and I spent the last several days up here from Healy to Tok, and this is the hub for the interior. I'm very optimistic about the future of Alaska, and Fairbanks is going to be, in my opinion, leading a charge in the renaissance, what I call a renaissance in Alaska, with your mining, your university, your military that's we've got a number of projects happening all over the interior, from Delta to Fairbanks down to Healy. I think things really bode well for Fairbanks in the future, and in me, you're going to have a governor that's never going to forget about Fairbanks and always see it as the golden city. Golden Heart. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hikus.
Yes, I'm Gerald Hikus. I was born in Anchorage in 1953. I can't say I'm a lifelong Alaskan because my dad was a bit of a mover, so we spent better than 35, 40 years up here. And I'm running as a Christian conservative constitutionalist, and I'm happen to be running on a Republican ticket. I drove in from Palmer this morning, so I'm dressed the way I am. That's the way it is. I see that I'm not overdressed for this occasion. So, and the reason I wear my hat is because I look like that guy that wears that Jim Sackett T-shirt over there. So that's why I wear my hat. And,
It's a compliment.
I have been concerned about Alaska and its politics for a lot of years, and it's been an interesting trip. I hope you have a good time listening to me, and then I hope I have a good time just being here. I think I will. So, Fairbanks, take care.
Mr. Halatku.
My name is Eric Halatku. I run for governor third time. I run with Sarah Pelley in 2006 to 10 partner. And I quit 2010 to run for governor because it's so high corruption in politics. And I said no more. And now I start to run because what's happening, I want to protect my low middle class. And somebody, when they got power, give pardon to billionaires do not pay their taxes. 20 billions 5 years ago. They didn't pay IRS. Now somebody charged your poor class to take the money from their pockets from the kids' food table. I am pissed off for this I run. God bless us and everyone. I got very good mind. I am master village. I am not politician. I try to do something for Alaska state. God bless you.
Mr. Sheldon.
Yes, my name is Michael Sheldon. I was born and raised in Petersburg, Alaska. I have 3 lovely children. My wife is a Filipina. I worked up in the Alyeska pipeline in the 70s as a mechanic and a welder, and also put in the VSM supports in the pipeline. I have an extensive background in the state. Worked at Kensington Gold Mine, commercial fish for 21 years. Fished Bristol Bay. I paved roads, helped pave roads in Southeast Alaska and airports, crushed rock, shot rock. So I've gotten my hands really dirty in the state. And I think it's important as a businessman of 2 businesses that we need a businessman in this governorship of Alaska. I think that I'd be the great guy for that because I have the responsibility of my constituents and the people of the state of Alaska that want a governor that's not a politician, lawyer, or lobbyist. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Treadwell.
Good afternoon. I'm Mead Treadwell, and I just want to say that when I had the chance to serve as your lieutenant governor, I sat at this forum, and the question was asked, what would be different in Alaska after I'd served? And I said we wanted to make Alaska more competitive. We did that by lowering oil taxes and bringing new explorers to the North Slope. Bill Walker followed us, didn't pay the bills, and we lost 4 drilling seasons. I'm running for governor to make Alaska competitive and to quit exporting Alaska jobs. We've been exporting jobs many different ways. I'm really upset when jet fuel comes from Singapore and we shut down the North Pole refinery and that tanker goes right past Kenai. I'm really upset when we send jobs overseas to Russia, to China, to Seattle, to Texas, and we've got to bring jobs home. I'm running for governor because we need a conservative businessman with business experience who will make the deals and bring the investment and will bring jobs back to Alaska. Woo.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to the forum questions. So question number 1, you will have 60 seconds to respond, and we'll start with Mr. Hikus. High health insurance costs have been hurting small businesses in Alaska. What can the state government do to lower the cost burden on smaller employers trying to provide health insurance for their employees?
I owned a small business at one time, Treadwell company, and state regs for owning a business in here is way overrated and way overdone. If you just want to work in Alaska, I'm a right to work guy, state, and the way we did it in Minnesota was you got a federal ID number, you got a $50 license, state license, and you can work all year long and get a straight check. Here it doesn't work that way. Here you have to be licensed, bonded, insured. Electricians have to have, what, 3 or 4 different insurances. Plumbers have to have 5 different insurances. In order to make a small business work, you have to cut down on what they have to pay into so they can give it. If they make a profit, they can pay their people even better. And hopefully the people can be invested in their own healthcare systems to take care of themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Halaku.
Well, the small business, my communication with the people also, I go almost every day on a Saturday market. They pay high taxes, they pay a lot of things, and those small business, my vision, I will do subsistence to support their family. They borrow money from the banks, and somebody who was the governor before, they closed 360 business. She killed, was killed Mantanuska factory mill, North Pole, America will be put back to the business and they lose a lot of money. I'll give money from the government kill their business, and I'll put this right business to feed the next generation with natural food, with organic food. And I want to grow in Alaska. Cow, pigs, chicken, turkey. I will do like a farmer towns, not how the another state does.
Thank you. Mr. Sheldon?
Yes, I think the first thing we should do is revoke Obamacare. That needs to go away. So many businesses in the state and throughout the nation have faltered and fell through the cracks. Many of the people in our state and throughout the nation have lost their care and don't have any insurance and tried to get insurance and couldn't get it. I think also that we should go to generic drugs. I think that the high cost of regular prescription drugs is too high at this point in time, and we need to go into the generic area. Prescription drugs need to be, I'd say, downsized as far as opiate drugs and what have you that our children are receiving. That needs to come to a stop. I think that doctors are too easy to give drugs to our young people and others, and I think that that is a really bad situation. We have poppies growing in the state of Alaska. That's got to come to a stop in summertime. There's so many things that we need to do, and we can bring our health care down. Thank you very much.
Mr. Treadwell?
As a businessman, I've spent most of my career signing the front of a paycheck. And when Obamacare came along, the idea that we could do medical savings accounts went out the door. It was very difficult. We have seen in our state the private insurance providers whittled down to one. The head of that insurance company spoke in Anchorage recently and said we have the most expensive health care in the world. As governor, here's what I'm going to do. First, we've got to cut paperwork. We want quality health care in this state, and the doctors and the hospitals and the caregivers will tell you they spend lots of time filling out bureaucratic paperwork that doesn't do anything to make you healthier. We've got to cut that back. The second thing, and that's a huge cost, the second thing is the state is one of the largest buyers of health care here, and we need to do more as a buyer to bring costs down. Third, we have to work very closely with the Native hospitals, with the veterans hospitals who we're now funding significantly with the Medicaid expansion that none of you specifically voted for, none of your legislators specifically voted for when it happened. We were going to contain costs before we did that. I'm going to be a cost-containing governor when it comes to health care.
Mr. Dunleavy?
Thank you. As mentioned, healthcare costs, it's going to crush not just the state, but the country. Your workman's comp is tied to our healthcare costs as well. You know that as business folks. We got to continue to work with our federal delegation and those that can make a difference at the federal level, because this is where this all started from originally. A couple things that we can do is we can expand the use of private association healthcare plans for small employers. We can work at doing that in the state. Certainly tackling fraud and waste. You probably read in the paper last month or two about some fraud issues that occurred out in Bethel and some overpayments, for example, that occurred in Anchorage, across the state actually with small providers of health care. If we can get Medicaid block grants, for example, from the federal government, Alaska could probably better utilize those grants in a more efficient manner that may also help reduce costs overall for everyone. And we can look at opening Alaska Care for other governmental agencies that can also help drive down the cost. Because once we drive down the cost of our state health care, it's going to spill over to the private sector as well. And then continue to look at medical tourism to also help drive down costs. So we have to focus on the state costs as well, and that's going to help us with your particular costs in private industry.